Timmy. And well, still before we proceed, Smart 24 TV, you can reach us out on our Twitter handles at Smart 24 TV. That's on Twitter. And there you can engage us as we post different discussions, open up discussions, and you give your opinion. And of course, all related to matters of economy. And Smart 24 TV official, that's on Facebook. Still, you can catch us as follow us with the different updates that we deliver to you that way. Now, for those of you that are obsessed with gadgets, we have something amazing for you. That is the Smart Digital application in your Google Play Store. And with this application, you can be able to stream Smart 24 TV and Smart 24 TV, NBS Radio, and Smart AFM at the same time. And those of you with the decoders, you can still go and get to channel 372, that's on GOTV, and channel 372 on DSTV. With that, you will be able to still get us across Africa. And Smart 24 TV, that's our official website. For a business researcher, you're into a business institute, you're making your research. Yes, we give you that right updated research for you. And you can tune in at Smart 24 TV Live. That's our YouTube handle. Stream us at any part of the globe that you will be at as we deliver to you the business updates in that way. Now, heading into the youth discussion. Now, we see here the aspect of tech-driven prosperity as a part of the initiatives. According, like I mentioned, the World Economic Forum putting across one of the key issues of cybersecurity, according to survey. And today in Uganda, we have seen cybersecurity risks, and most especially the attackers being well equipped with the new emerging technologies. Now people are manipulating artificial intelligence to hack into different accounts of people. So that is a huge threat to financial institutions in Uganda, and that can clearly show you where the job market is. Last time we had the aspect of environmental, social governance, and now we have cybersecurity as one of the key threats that is in Davos, Switzerland, a part of the key discussions that were put across. So as a youth in Africa, and as a youth part of a country that is a part of the non-alignment movement, how do you use this for your advantage? First of all, to create value for the community and income for yourself, such that you don't be a part of the Africans. According to the International Labour Organizations, the 148 million that can't take back home $2.15 a day. So where do you want to be at? And with the 15 million Africans that got jobs last year, only 3.5%, in about 3.5%, 3.5 million rather, are not in position to earn a daily earning to sustain them. From that perspective, Master Katimi, I want us to look into that area of tech-driven prosperity, most especially when it comes to the youth. I would feel that it's one of the key elements. We've had the summits happening, though it's quite absurd. We thought we would have a youth summit still alongside that, but it's not been possible. But it doesn't stop the youth on the different councils. We have like the European, I'm seeing here, the European Union Youth, Council, the Uganda, the National Youth Council. Yeah, so it doesn't stop them in those respective councils to, take hold of what has been discussed in the NAM. I know not so many have been able to access the premises, but holding on to what has been discussed, I think is vital, given the fact that most of the populations, 70% of African populations are below 30 years. Yeah.
When it comes to technology, actually, I think that is why there is not recently, but over the years, there have been actually involving youth, in computer studies and the likes, where you go and we used to study ICT as it was a compulsory for you to study computer. And of course, now that we've seen different courses that are in line with technology coming into, say, we have computer science, we have programming, software programming, we have very many courses aligned to that, because that is the kind of era we are heading into, the era of technology, where we use technology. But when it comes to that, it's just that for us as Uganda, we want the easiest way. We've always wanted the easiest ways. We want to do things that are easier for us. And the fact, and by the time other nations have developed, that is why for us they're always 10 steps ahead of us.
Exactly.
Yes, that because our youth have failed to learn these skills. They feel like, oh, how an ICT, what am I going to use a computer for? But really, I believe this is the kind of innovations that we're supposed to be in line with technology. The fact that we are able, I think we are in a population where almost everyone can access a smartphone. they're affordable, so there is a lot of technology exposed to us. So how about we use that? And of course, with the different, when you come to the education system, the new curriculum actually has improvised, the use of, teaching students how to, not entirely like that, but I believe there should be that initiative actually, also technology, like sort of course, could be maybe in their first 2 years or senior 1 or senior 2, technology, the different innovations. That's like you see kids from the US come up with different robotics and machines. It is good because there you do not know, you can actually get to know the diversity that these kids have.
Exactly.
Because at that age, kids, their minds are developing. So they are at exposure to come up with different innovations, different things. So I believe it starts way back from school, not just with studying how to type on a computer, but also learn other things relating to technology. Yeah. So I want to be able to tap into when China comes, to give us, to give a hand to us. What is that? Because at the end of the day, because China actually is depreciating when it comes to population. At the end of the day, they will want, some, because it was rumored that they wanted some Africans to join China, in terms of employment and all that. So if at all we're given chance to go out in China, which is been a hub, but I don't know, a set of technology worldwide. What is that, like we've been talking about technology transfer? If you've gone there and you've been given an opportunity to diverse yourself in line with education, can you be able to deliver what you have learned to Uganda? Yeah, so I believe if you've been given an opportunity to go out and study in terms of technology, and of course, because some of them have gone for advancements in those countries, I believe when you come back to Uganda, there has to be something that we can learn from you, other than creating your own innovations as well. This has to be something that we can learn from these guys that go, and seek, further education. But of course, technology I believe, is the way to go for me. With the different courses that we have, at least. You've seen some of them trying to, that we had the cyber security, was it summit or conference last year? Yeah, and of course,
It was the Cybersecurity Awareness Month in October.
Yeah, I like the fact that most Ugandans were able to attend. Some Ugandans were able to attend. Those that are enlightened, those that know the future of technology in years to come. Of course, they've been talking about AI, and of course, I don't think it has sinked into people that AI is something that we have to get prepared for. Though it may not have huge impact that we expect, that job displacement and all that, it's there to enhance what we have, to help in tasks, speed up tasks that we have.
Yeah.
So I believe if you're studying, you have to study in line, something to do with technology. At the end of the day, technology has to be improvised in everything that we do.
That is true. And that brings me to part of the discussions in the conference. Education wasn't seem to be a big issue. Okay, of course it is, but it wasn't something that we looked into, because when we talk about mobility of laborers, recently we saw Kenya that secured jobs, 200,000 jobs for now, actually 200,000, for its citizens in that way. Yeah, and now announced in the Middle East, that means you have the qualifications. So I would feel, as much as we are looking for the aspect of the skilling in skilling technology transfer, this technology transfer would be, I feel it would be efficient in a ready mind, which has been prepared by the education, being a tech-driven education sector, because we are still into the theoretical perspective. Now, if we say that the visa restrictions are being put, I'm trying to give an example. When I leave Uganda, I go to work in a country like Angola. What am I going to deliver? I go to a country like China. Why would I have to first go through still to study? That is, I'm wasting money. Unless it's, I have to study the language. Okay, all those perspectives. I may not look into perspective because we have English as a unifying language for all of us. Though it is important to learn those other languages. But how if we invest in the education system that I get a degree in Uganda and it can work in China, and it's possible. It can be done. Exchange programs can be done from that perspective. So, from that perspective, I'll say that the technology will be impactful through the changes in the education sector. Because when you take a look at the youth in the different, most especially Africa, they normally face the same aspects. High levels of unemployment, insecurity, climate change, and the gender inequality. But all these can be put together once we have stable economic environments. The stable economic environment are built by the people. It's human capital that actually puts that out for that. So we see how best we can position ourselves as a country, the youth most especially, to be able to tap into these benefits of the non-alignment movement with time. And it will be quite key and vital when it comes to economic growth and development, because even when we have expatriates that leave Uganda and head to these nations with visa-free when there is ease in mobility, at least they will have what to offer. That's what I can say. We shall have what to offer. But what do we have what to offer right now? Because it's urgent. It's fast, So as much as we are skilling, let's take a look into the education sector, tech-driven basis, and not just about passing examinations.
Oh yeah, that's why
I liked the
VC,
Vice Chancellor
the
of
Vice
Victoria
Chancellor.
University when he came out and said UNEP should be scrapped.
Yeah.
And he mentioned something about read. It's I think something to do with assessment and all those perspectives. Of course, I don't know the full form, but it's read. Cancel out UNEP, put out read. That's the way to go. Whereby you assessed because
with UNEB, I think they position kids in a way, or students in a way of you have to pass. It's automatic. If you do not, what odds are there that if you fail, you cannot, you won't be able to make it in life? Do you have to go back and redo the class? Because this is theories. Some kids are not really good with theoretical work. Some of them are really good with practical work. So I believe, in no long time it was a thing like, why are you going for vocational? Vocational is for those that are lame. But of course, right now we need vocational skill. Come on, we need to do more practicals than we do in theory, because we waste a lot of time in theoretical studies. If you're doing physics, I want to see a battery. I want to see how they assemble a car battery. That's what we want. That's what we want. Practical. Practice.
And actually, we've experienced a part of this. This was by the United Nations Development Program and partnership with the Makerere University, establishing a technology hub within there to help boost businesses. It can act like an incubator for startups, and that way, so positioning itself is quite key and clear as a student of innovation to really participate into this. But the bigger picture now, let's wait for the effects of this years after, because we shall have to do what we call an assessment and evaluation, away from just the auditing perspective, but the evaluating of what was discussed vis-a-vis what was actually implemented. And now we have the G77 plus China coming ahead. It should also be one of the key areas to position ourselves as Ugandans to tap into. The IGAD summit has been ongoing, like I mentioned. So you can clearly see the huge chance that we possess as a country whose economy is actually about $50 billion, living amidst an economy of East Africa about $300 billion. So where is the portion of Uganda on that $305 billion economy in East Africa? So if you have this perspective, you can be in position to position yourself where necessary. You have to be. Now, financial intelligence is also key. Remember that. And that's why innovations that have thrived, tech-driven innovations that have thrived in the nation, we saw in Egypt, Nigeria, South Africa, and Kenya, all are financial driven on the fintech perspective. So how can the youth really, how can we participate into this, that it's not only just for our benefit to make the money, but also to help the youth in other countries across the non-alignment movement, be it now, for this case, it could be Africa, to also acquire this financial intelligence. Because what really distinguishes between a successful business person and an average business person, you may have everything right, but you lack intelligence, financial intelligence. That is quite key. And with the innovations, technology, this is information that is accessed out there with the different applications. So for the innovator, a youth innovator, this could be quite a good space for you to participate in and make you liable for the venture capital funding that comes in across from abroad. And as we wait for the for this event, the startup, which was called the Timbuktu Startup Conference, which is going to be held in Kigali. So let us see. And Rwanda is part of the NAM. So this is quite a key initiative that even the member states, as they hold these innovation-related conferences, Uganda will stand a chance to be a part of this. Why should we be left behind, really? If we have a nation in the region that is in position to have access to the venture funding, why can't we be a part of this?
Kenya is going to be tapping into that. Yeah.
Actually, Kenya already receives that. Kenya, South Africa, South Africa, Egypt, and Kenya, South Africa, Egypt. There is another country, Nigeria. Yeah, exactly, Nigeria. So that is quite key and quite too that way. And even the education systems, a number of universities have not yet adapted the tech kind of studying. I mean, the online perspectives. Because if we are preparing for a digital revolution, I'll say it starts from preparing the upcoming generations from a tender stage. The challenge we've been having in Africa, and the reason that's why there is a huge unemployment rate, it's the aspect of self-discovery, getting to understand the underlying trends at a younger age, and you adapt it. Most cases, you make 30, and that's when you realize, I wish I did this. And that is hindering development in so many of African countries. That's why few of them can barely take home $2.15 a day. That's about 7,000 Ugandan shillings.
Yeah,
that's the International Labour Organization report regarding that. All right, that brings us to the end of this discussion. Exactly 20 minutes past 9. Let's take a break, and of course, when we return, we shall be heading into discussions regarding the tensions in the East African region, what the stakeholders have to say about this. Stick around.
Smart 24, driving business.
Luxury redefined at Seasan Hotel as you indulge in the splendor of elegant living fit for the royalty that you are. Step into comfort, pampering and blissful customer-centric service as you select from our range of comfy, exquisite living quarters furnished to meet with your royal preference. Surrounded by scenic beauty, Our tropical setting allows you to escape the glamorous ordeal of city life. Our ambient green gardens will guide you to a place of revitalizing rest. The 3-star restaurant caters to your palate, serving your choice menu ranging from exotic cuisines to local delicacies. Our chefs will serve you full course meals for a truly out-of-this-world culinary experience. Our fully stocked bar to whet your throat, from renowned global brand whisks, brandies, gins, beers and wines to our locally celebrated beverages, you will not lack for any brewage. It's an all-new experience in the East at CSUN Hotel. So visit today at plot 15 to 19 Spire Road, Ginger, or contact us on +256 751 719 960 and +256 785 354 614 for reservations. CSUN Hotels, luxury redefined.
Jovia ng'oyolekera ku lugendo luno olw'obulamu, nkuwa ekirabo eky'amaanyi agatazizibwa, amaanyi okulabibwa n'okuwulirwa mu mawanga ageewala ennyo, okutuuka buli wamu nga yadde togenzeeyo, ensi yonna ng'ekuli mu ngalo. Okutambula mu biseera n'okumanya buli kimu ekirina okumanyibwa. Jovia, kino kye kirabo kyange gy'oli.
Tewali kkubo ku ki ky'osobola okukola ku mukutu nnandameggwa ogwa MTN.
Happy New Year, our tech lovers, and welcome to 2024. Now, this year we begin with a report on Tesla. Now, we have a report that Tesla has been reported to have 4,855,000 deliveries for the fourth quarter, bringing 2023 total to 1.8 million. Now, Tesla just reported fourth quarter vehicle production and deliveries for 2023. And during the company's third quarter earnings call in October, the CEO Elon Musk said that the Model Y was likely to be the best-selling car on Earth, but not just in revenue, but in unit volume this year. Now, the company previously offered guidance that it would notch at least 1.8 million deliveries for the full year in 2023. In its last earnings call in October 2023, Tesla Exes offered guidance that the company would notch at least 1.8 million deliveries for the full year 2023, a number they had revised down from a 2 million goal earlier. Now, analysts had expected Tesla to report deliveries of about 4,777,000 for the year-ending quarter, according to a consensus of estimates compiled by Street Account as of December 28, 2023. Now, deliveries are the closest approximation of sales reported by Tesla, but are not precisely defined in the company's shareholder communications. Now, during third quarter earnings call in October, Tesla CEO Musk once again said that the company's Model Y was likely to be the best-selling car on Earth, but not just in revenue, but in unit volume for the full year 2023. Now, Tesla does not break out delivery and production numbers by individual model, but also with report combined numbers. Now, Tesla produced over 47,677 Model 3 and Model Y vehicles during the quarter and reported about 461,538 deliveries for these models. It did not break down Model S or X production or delivery numbers. Instead, it batched them up into other models, which produced about 18,212 other models and delivered 22,969 during the quarter. Now, when asked about 2024, this is what the CEO had to say. Now, the CEO of course, delivered and said outlook for deliveries on the company's last earnings call. Musk said that at the risk of stating the obvious, it is not possible to have a compound growth rate of 50% forever, or you will exceed the mass of the known universe. But I think we'll grow very rapidly, which will be much faster than any other car company on earth by far by 2024 closes. And he continued to say that Tesla is now focused on growing their volumes in a very cost-efficient manner and will provide 2024 guidance on the next earnings call, said Elon Musk, who is the CEO of Tesla. Ladies and gentlemen, for those that have been watching the Tech Bite, that is all we had as we open 2024. Enjoy and take care. Thank you.
Smart 24, driving business.
We'll come back, and of course 28 minutes past 9 a.m. and of course our final hour Smart Men's Business. Well, of course, a few days ago we were talking about the regional tensions that are happening in East Africa, away from Uganda, having us holding the non-alignment movement summit, and of course the G77 plus China coming into shape, and of course since last year, actually, towards the end of last year, there were regional tensions that have actually advanced in this very year. And of course, talking about the oil products dispute that was between Uganda and Kenya, and of course, where Uganda filed a lawsuit against Kenya, the East African Court of Justice, accusing it for hindering oil products exports via the Kenyan infrastructure. And of course, you have to, Uganda actually came and gave, towards the end of the year, actually, towards the last months of the year, actually gave an opportunity for Vito actually to be a sole supplier of oil actually in Uganda, because it claimed that Kenya actually is expensive. When you look at the prices, it's much more expensive. So they decided to opt for this other company that is going to be distributing oil to Kenya. So that brought about disputes, and of course the pipeline taking into shape also as we're preparing for to start excavating oil and all that. So there were also those tensions, and of course, but anyway, I think issues have been settled now. I think we are at PAM, and of course the recent closure of the border, the closure of the borders, Rwanda and Burundi borders, concerns about security, and of course Burundi accusing Rwanda to be partisan partisan in influencing the rebel attacks that happen in Burundi. So this has actually disrupted trade between these two countries, and of course the cross-border trade and movement of people that have been between Rwanda and Burundi. Of course, Rwanda and Burundi sort of share almost the same language, and of course, given that the French nations, so they could have been closer, but due to this, it has brought disruption between these two countries. And of course, we can't rule out the M23, the resurgence of the M23 that came back, and of course causing a lot of inconveniences, and of course the DRC triggered clashes with government forces displacing civilians. Well, of course, with the East African community deploying a regional force, and of course tensions are still ongoing, and of course accusing Rwanda to support the M23. And of course, away from that, I think DRC also They also had issues recently with DRC and of course Tanzania and Kenya regarding the airlines, so definitely there's a lot that has been happening in East Africa that we have to probe into. And of course also Sudan actually in October 2023 last year, there was a political coup that brought about political instability into the country. And of course we had to deploy some of our security to go and help down and crack down whatever is happening right there. And of course there was a suspension of international aid which further escalated the humanitarian crisis in Sudan. Well, of course not South Sudan, but also in future Sudan could also be part of the East African community just because they are closer. So a lot has been happening surrounding Uganda, and we've over time we've actually over time did not regarded them as concerns, but of course it has affected us. And of course Kenya coming up with the ETAs, the electronic applications right then, of course disrupting trade and movement of people. And of course Uganda being affected. Most of the East African community member states have been affected: Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania, most of them. And of course Ethiopia actually also had issues with it, and of course the delay. And of course if you want to access Kenya, you have to apply 3 days prior to the day of your departure. And of course a lot of security, and of course concerns are rotating, that is security and all that. So they're trying to make sure that they enforce to make sure that their system is really so tight. Yeah, the system at the airport is so tight, before having anyone access their country. And of course terrorist attacks have also been happening. You've seen, I've been telling you of the M23, and then also not ruling out the ADF attacks that are happening that happened in Uganda. And of course the regional tensions are likely to continue between Ethiopia and Eritrea, with the risk of an open conflict following the PM Abiy, and of course the historical and the mistakes that have been made over time. So regarding that, we shall experience this. But of course away from that, actually during the NAM, one of the issues that they wanted to be addressed was the Israel and Palestine war that actually happened during the course of last year. And of course and of course they wanted, Palestine wanted the issues to be addressed, and of course I believe they were tackled. And of course solutions are gonna be made for those member states of the non-alignment movement. But of course a lot is happening in East Africa. And of course we saw Rwanda, actually Kenya has been exporting some medication that is used to treat infections to Rwanda. However, it's gonna be losing out on trade, because they feel like their medicine is unsafe for their citizens. So you can imagine the kind of loss that Kenya has made due to this occurrence. It had not happened for the very first time. Very many errors were looked probably into, but of course this time round, that is why it led to the banning of this kind of infectious medicines that were being exported to Rwanda. Well, of course, when it comes to oil, there was a lot of issues in the oil production. And of course away from that, with the oil in Uganda, some countries feel like it's not the way to go, because we're advocating for climate change, and of course it's going to be a hindrance to the environment. But is it really gonna commence? But of course for Uganda we really need it, because this is something that we've been planning for quite some time, and now that we have started, there is no turning back. So we can look for other means of improvising for renewable energy. And of course, away from that, we've been having food insecurities within East Africa due to the drought, the different seasonal changes that we've been having. I mean, towards the end of last year, we saw floods in Kenya, and of course, hundreds of people perished, and of course also in Tanzania, and of course very own Uganda with the climatic change conditions, and of course competition from for resources. Yeah, so definitely a lot is happening in East Africa that we do not have to we have to pay attention away from what is happening in Uganda currently. Well, of course, we have some legislators, and of course, they had something to say about these regional tensions that are happening in East Africa. Maybe we can look into that, and we shall be back.
East African countries, it is not the first time that they are wrangling. These wrangles, the conflicts, suspicions and anticipations have always been there, and lack of respect to member state countries has been so enormous as a challenge. We remember in the early 70s where the Field Marshal, Idi Amin Dada, abused and revoked Mwalimu Julius Nyerere Kambarage in public and referred him as his wife, and he was terming himself as the conqueror of the British Empire, the husband of Julius Nyerere Kambarage. So such ironical statements, I think, are not returning respect to member states. We have always seen not only Rwanda wrestling against Burundi, it's not only Kenya fighting and wrangling against Tanzania, but also Uganda has been wrangling with Rwanda and Kenya over the boundary issues. And yet in their own guidelines by principle of the East African Community Act, they are supposed to enjoy these benefits of the interborder cross agencies without any limitations. But now you see at any time so long as the president or the member country wills, then he comes up and issues an embargo, issues a restriction, issues a directive, which is contrary to their law. So for me, I think the member countries of East Africa must get ordained into their real objectives as to why they are coming together as the member countries of East Africa. Each member country must get to know on the don'ts and the do's and how it should exercise and enjoy from the privileges of the community. These member countries have a number of challenges which cannot bring them together. First of all, the economic status by GDP and GDP per capita can explain and categorize, creates an economic gap between the member countries. Some have crossed middle income earning class, others are still below the poverty line. They are lamenting from the vicious circle of poverty effect. So they cannot sit on one round table and agree. If you are a poor person, you cannot give orders and commands to the rich person. A man with the powder wins the battle. So we are seeing that some of these countries are still below the poverty line, and now they cannot win the battle, and neither can they exercise overwhelming privileges against the other. And it is unfortunate that it is these poor countries that need to exert a lot of powers and influence against the other richer states, which cannot apply. It cannot happen. They have a number of challenges. First of all, they lack a common currency, they lack a common language, they lack a common political law and ideologies. They lack a lot of issues. They lack a common bank. The East African Development Bank, I think, by name, would service the interest of currency and banking issues, facilities for all the member countries of East Africa. But it's not the case. You find that each country has got a national bank, has got its own currency, has got its own local and foreign language. Others are using English, others French, others Portuguese, others German. So they cannot come together and actually align into one common cause and objective. They would rather begin getting enticed on how can they get a common currency, how can they come up with a common language, how can they come up with one bank for the East African member country state, how can they come up with a common market, and how can that common market be enjoyed freely without any other restriction or interruption. So if having failed to work upon the historical challenges and the common challenges which affected them to come into concession, then this one is more of a myth than reality. Member states may not benefit, but may continue over lamenting over the negative effects of the cooperation.
First of all, I think there is a problem at the regional level, at the leadership level. I think our president is working very hard to keep the community alive. But considering some of the actions of some of our partner states, I think there is a need for retrospection, because we seem to be taking many steps backwards. So it is a bit of a concern. I hope that our leaders will have time to sit and resolve the issues. Otherwise, there is no option. The option of breaking away does not exist, because we are already united, we are already trading with each other. There are many laws we have put in place. So the option of a breakdown is not an option. So we have to talk and discuss.
First, to adhere to what the treaty says, because when you look at the treaty itself, the partner states negotiated certain positions. The do's and the don'ts are in that treaty. And the other partner states who are going against that, who are somersaulting, I think they should really constrain themselves to adhere to the principles of the treaty which was signed by the partner states. And also, what we have to know, that there are some emerging challenges, but there are ways of solving them. Because globally today, with the economies of the world now, there is no way where we cannot work as a group. No. You hear the economic blocks. When you compare ourselves how European Union started and as we are now, those are the challenges which also I think we should work very hard to be very cooperative, to adhere to the objectives of the treaty. Common market, customs union, monetary union, and federation of the East African community. Those are the major key principles that really will help us within the partner states to prosper within our economic bloc of East African community. And really we should restrain ourselves. Whatever challenges come, we should find out mechanisms how to solve them quickly. Because they do prevent our integration to move very fast.
Well, of course, you've had some of the key challenges that we are facing as the East African community. And of course, we have actually, over time, we've not followed the guidelines that are constituting the East African community. When you talk about the custom union, which is responsible, for eliminating custom duties on goods traded between the member states, facilitating free movement of goods and enhancing regional trade. has actually totally failed. You've seen we've been having issues on the cross-border with cross-border trade, you know, most especially with Uganda and Kenya. And of course, when it comes to the common market, yes, having free movement of goods and services, you know, within the region, it has actually not been progressing so well. And of course, the fact that we are in different economic statuses. Some are into the middle class, others are into the low class. So definitely, I believe those are one of the challenges that we've been facing over time. So, well, we still have a long way to go as the East African bloc, yeah, because we have differences in terms of language, in terms of different policies that we have. But of course, we have to go back to the drawing board and look at the treaty, like he said, the different policies that we set as an East African community, the different regulations that we have to follow so that we can have a united front. Otherwise, we're going to be left to fight against each other. And at the end of the day, we're going to be independent member states, you know, everyone fighting for themselves. Well, of course, it has been lovely having you as an audience all the way from 7 a.m. Till now. Of course, in case you missed, you can catch us on YouTube on Smart 24 TV. And of course, we are always here. You can catch us on TV, actually, on the different streams on Twitter on Smart 24 TV now, and of course on Facebook Smart 24 TV official, and of course on channels 372 on DSTV and channel 320 on Star Times. Well, it's been lovely, and of course today is Friday, and of course I believe you are, you know, this is your last day for those that work that are you know, work from Monday to Friday. I believe this is your last day to, you know, to give in your weekly reports and, you know, be at least productive. Go be productive. Make the very best of this year. Make a difference. What did not happen last year, make sure that you compensate this year. Well, my name is Mercy Katsima, and I was with Andrew Barige. Till next week, same time, same place. Have a blessed morning.